Hi everyone, it's Rax. I had a very special 150 clear today on my stream with Lex and Cess, amazing Diablo players and streamers themselves, and Lex, the wizard, plays with no macros, which is very rare for a wizard because it's so hard to do this build without one. So I thought that I would cut the audio on this video and walk you through exactly how we cleared this. So first, a very quick overview on what this is. This is the meta team, which is Monk, Barb, Necro, Wizard. Starting with the Monk is a support role, and their main job is to drop a Sanctuary in the middle of these huge packs that we're making and spam heal us. If you look at my buffs there in the middle, it's that little pink buff that keeps refreshing. That is Cess spam healing us. The Barbarian is responsible for pulling the monsters everywhere and doing a ground stomp to gather everything together. Which brings us to the Wizard, who is responsible for killing everything in the Rift with meteors. And the build that they do is so difficult that most wizards at this level use macros to do it for them, because the windows of time that they have to correctly execute the skills is very difficult to do. So it's incredible, once again, that Lex is able to do this playing manually. And finally, me as the RGK, which stands for Rift Guardian Killer. I'm responsible for killing the boss at the end and just sort of trying to help out on the clear. So what's going on here? We open the Rift, and the first thing we notice is we have battlefields, which is one of the best maps. But unfortunately, we have one of the very worst mob types, which are the big spiders or the toxic lurkers. So the only thing that we want to do on this map is we want to do a couple of drops with the little spiders being killed and the little flies. We're not really concerned with killing any of the big spiders because they're pretty hard to clump up. So we're just going to get what progression we can out of the little stuff and build some stacks for the wizard and then move on with our lives. So I think this is the only spot in the entire map where we do 2 drops. And right now we're about even with the bar, which is perfectly fine for us because at this level, at our Paragon level, with our current gear, what we're going to need is we're going to need a very good map with a very good mob type. A very good mob type meaning something that is very valuable towards progression and something that stacks very well when the Barbarian runs in and does their stomps. So if we get that map next, for example, and we're able to stay even on this map, then we should be able to spawn the boss and be fine. The next floor is one of the shortest floors in the entire game. I think it actually is the shortest floor, so nothing spectacular is going to happen here. But it has one of the very best mob types, chickens. They're actually armored destroyers, but everyone calls them chickens because they look like chickens. You can see how well they stack, and they're worth so much, as you're about to see from this pop. We caught up tremendously with just one meteor there. And another thing to know about this is the wizard can only drop a meteor once every 32 seconds, so that's the kind of timer that we're on. Floor 3 is the best map in the entire game, Festering Woods. This is what we're looking for. And we just got I would call a pretty good mob type, skeletons. So at least skeletons are going to be able to stack together. I guess now is the time to shamelessly plug. Please go follow me on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. But anyway, this is pretty decent. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm running around and I'm trying to aggro stuff for the Barb to get them all in here so we can get some big drops. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to spawn a conduit pylon. Festering Woods, most of them have 6 elites on the entire map. So if we can kite them all forward while killing all the trash, and then finally spawning a conduit, we should have enough time to kill the Guardian. Now, I should explain a little bit more in detail. On the Guardian, I am Thorns. Thorns is a build where I have skeletons that I'm going to put on the boss, and my damage ramps up over time because of an offhand called Bone Ringer. I'll put a full guide in the description if you'd like to know more about Thorns or if you want to play it. And I'm also building Stricken stacks, so my damage over time goes up tremendously. And what I rely on is the boss doing damage to my skeletons to essentially kill themselves. So the more time that we have on the Guardian, the more exponential my damage is going to be. And it's pretty reasonable with no pylon that we're going to need about 4 to 5 minutes for a mediocre RG. The best RG or Rift Guardian that we could spawn would be Blighter. I can kill Blighter in probably a minute with no pylon. And there would be some that we just have to leave the game because we wouldn't have enough time, like Bone Warlock or Vesalius or Orlash, some of those bosses like that. So right now we're just gathering packs, blowing up these skeletons, and we get a shield pylon. It's not the pylon we wanted, but I guess it's the pylon that we deserve. And now, what we'll do here is I'll run down here and use my Nemesis bracers on it to spawn another elite. Not because we're relying on Lex to necessarily kill it with their meteor, but because we would like to use it with a conduit pylon later on. So, that was incredible. Lex was able to kill an elite there, so that's going to help us as we continue to move forward through the map. Now, one important thing that we are not doing, we are not running around everywhere discovering the whole map trying to pull everything to one location. You might think that's a good idea, but that would actually be an instant wipe for us, because if you do that, you despawn all of the possible pylon locations. So what we need to do is we need to slowly but surely build progress. As you can see, the rift is starting to lag because we're gathering so many monsters on top of each other. But we need to slowly but surely make packs and quietly and slowly move through the rift. That way, at every possible pylon spawn, we have a chance to spawn that conduit. Okay? One important thing that you'll see me do, or maybe you've watched me do throughout this rift, is I have a Kool-Aid potion to break walls. That's definitely the potion that you want, because walls can ruin Lexi's meteors, or they can ruin Nemesis's stomps, and I don't want any of that to happen. So I'll pop my Frailty Curse to lose some health, and then I'll run around and pop my potion to break walls, as you see me doing right there. Pretty much the rest of the time I'm just swinging my scythe, making sure everything is cursed. Cursing everything helps with survivability, and it also applies the Early Grave rune on my Frailty Curse number 2, which is helping the wizard do more damage and will buff Conduit if we spawn one. Okay, so we're getting close to a pylon spawn, and it's a Conduit. Yahtzee. Alright, now what we have to do is we have to make sure that we've killed enough of the trash that the Conduit will have enough time to zap all of the elites dead. So right now we're just working on the trash, and we're not... Notice how we didn't dive and grab it right away? That would be a wipe, because the Conduit would spend most of its time electrocuting skeletons, and it wouldn't kill the elites, and then we'd be very sad. So we're just very content here just to keep dropping meteors until we've thinned this out enough that we can pop the Conduit. But right now this looks pretty promising. It looks like we're going to have about 4.5 minutes for the Guardian, so this should be able to kill more than half of the Guardians in time, at least with my Paragon level. If I was a higher Paragon level, could kill them a little faster, but we work with what we've got. So again, you can see, very obviously, there's just way too many mobs here. There's not a good chance that we would be able to kill them all. with the conduit, so we're just going to keep work on it. Major Ass Butt is now following. That might be the best or the worst name I've ever seen. And it's conduit time. And can we spawn the Guardian here? What I'm doing here is I'm making sure every monster is cursed with frailty to make sure that they die at that 18% so we can continue to electrocute these elites. And the Guardian is up, and survey says it's Tetris. So the thing about Tetris is at 60%, she's dead. Because at 60%, she spawns this black hole that just one-shots her with thorns. So I've commanded my skeletons on her, and just stacking stricken with my scythe. And the main thing that I need to do here is not die. As long as I don't die to her, and by the way, the black hole can one-shot you. I learned that the hard way. This should be a clear. So what else can I tell you about this? Every once in a while I have to throw a bone spear to keep up my poison stack. And my dislocate in number 3 refreshes my bone armor stacks, which will keep me alive. But I want to do this very deliberately at certain moments. I want to dislocate either in poison or in cold, preferably either right after she's done an attack so I don't interrupt one of her attacks, or while she's dancing around because she's not attacking. And that way she's never stunned during my physical rotation, because Thorns is physical, and I never want her stunned during physical because I want her to be attacking and take more damage. So now another thing that I have to think about here is I need to get her to 60%, and my Land of the Dead has a 2-minute cooldown before applying any cooldown reduction, which I don't have a lot of. So at about the 3-minute to 2-minute mark, I can do a Land of the Dead and then do a second one. Now, the first Land of the Dead is not that strong because, again, remember, my Bone Ringer needs to stack up, my Stricken stacks need to stack up. So the Land of the Dead at 2 minutes is nothing compared to the one at the end. But still, 2 is better than 1. It's a free Land of the Dead, so I'll take it. So I pop the land right before the physical to try to get her down to that golden 60% mark. But at this point, really what I'm trying to do is just stay in the sanctuary, have her melee my skeletons, keep my dislocate buff up, keep throwing the spear, and just pray that she doesn't one-shot me. So how rare is it to get a rift this good? I mean, we had a Battlefields and we had a Festering with pretty good mob type with a conduit. The answer is it can depend. Some teams can get this stuff in 5 keys, and some can pull hundreds and hundreds and never see anything like this. But what I would say to anyone wanting to get into the meta scene or build this team is don't be discouraged, just keep trying. And you want to know what? Even if you get an incredible rift and you throw it away, as long as you learn something from it, if you can go back, if you were streaming it or recording it, if you can go back and see some mistakes that you made, or if you want to stop by and ask us any questions, we've ran this a million times. As long as you're learning something from it, as long as you keep trying, I promise you, you can get it down. Because there was a point where we were pulling 140s and getting destroyed, and then it wasn't too long later, after a little bit of practice, that we were able to start clearing some 150s. But anyway, the moment of truth is coming. Let's see what we can do with Tetris. 59 seconds left. My land is back up. So my physical rotation is coming. So here we go. Just need to make sure I don't die. So there's the land, and she's at 60, and black hole, and sayonara. Well, I hope this helps you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.